Welcome to the Fumble Sports pregame show. For NFL Week 16, we're going to take you through every game of NFL Week 16 and answer all of your fantasy football questions. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. At Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll be answering all of your fantasy questions, handing out game picks, player prop bets, game totals, everything you need to cash on NFL Week 16. Make sure you're throwing your fantasy football questions in the comments section. We'll answer all of your fantasy questions, making sure we're handing out winners for all of those who are playing fantasy football this week. Make sure you're throwing your questions in the chat at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter, answering all of your fantasy questions. So if you have questions, we have answers. Throw those questions in the chat. What do you need to know to prepare for NFL Week 16, whether it's game picks, player prop bets, totals, everything you need? Okay, Will Moore has a question. Brian Robinson or Raheem Mostert? That's a no-brainer for me, Will. You're in a good spot. I really don't like Brian Robinson this week going up against the 49ers, and I really like Raheem Mostert, so Mostert is the play for me. If you have fantasy football questions out there, make sure you throw them in the chat. Here to answer all of your questions for NFL Week 16, as well as any questions you may have on game picks, total plays, or player prop bets as well. Alyssa asks, is Goddard a go this week? Yep, he's been activated, and he is a go this week for the Philadelphia Eagles. MV Metcalf says he's going to the Dolphins-Packers game on Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you. Hope you enjoy your time in that game. Grayson asks, Latavius Murray or Foreman? I'm going to lean just slightly towards towards Murray, I think, in that game, just slightly. Jay Castle asks, Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott? I would lean just slightly towards Kirk Cousins in that one. Just slightly. If you have fantasy questions, we have answers. Make sure you're throwing that question in the chat at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. If you have questions, we have answers. It can be for fantasy, gambling. We have everything you need. ETN, Deontay Johnson or DeAndre Swift or Kamara. A lot of things going on in that one. Okay, let's break that game down. DeAndre Swift and the Lions have that matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Not too advantageous. I like Alvin Kamara, but he's going to be dealing with some crazy weather. Don't know if that's going to impact his ability to get production for you. As for ETN, not a great matchup against the Jets. And Deontay Johnson, I think, does benefit from getting Kenny Pickett back. So out of those four, the two I would go with are Deontay Johnson and Alvin Kamara. Pick 2, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones, or Miles Sanders. Well, I'll certainly go with Tony Pollard. He's a must-start for me. And as for Aaron Jones or Miles Sanders, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Aaron Jones. I'm a little concerned about Miles Sanders going up against that Cowboys defense, especially with Jalen Hurts potentially banged up and missing that game. Make sure you hit that like button after I answer your question, or if you want to do a player prop bet poll. We're going to do a number of polls tonight. Get your engagement, get your take on what's going on in the NFL. So hit that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around some of the action going down this week. So make sure you hit that like button. Get us up to 5,000 likes. J-Dog asks, Singletary or Khalil Herbert? Well, you got your information right. Khalil Herbert has been activated by the Chicago Bears and will be back this week. That said, I definitely lean towards Devin Singletary. I like his matchup far. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Ken Walker III or Miles Sanders? Man, I really don't like what I've seen from Kenneth Walker III over the last few weeks. Feel like he's hit a rookie wall. That said, I do lean in his direction. He has the more favorable matchup going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, so I lean slightly towards Kenneth Walker III over Miles Sanders. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. If you have questions about NFL Week 16, we have answers. It could be about fantasy, it could be about a game pick, a player prop bet, a total, anything you need to make sure that we're helping you cash in and take advantage of all that we have left of the NFL season. So make sure you're throwing your question in the chat. Watson, Judy, DJ Moore, Pittman need just one. I'd lean towards DJ Moore. I actually think DJ Moore could have a good game with Sam Darnold at quarterback. They have a bit more chemistry than he had with Baker Mayfield in weeks past. I also think going up against that Lions secondary could be advantageous. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around the action this week. Sanders or Swift? I'm going to lean just slightly towards Swift. Purdy or Zach Wilson? Believe it or not, I like Zach Wilson. He's put up some good stats in the action we saw last week. He's also 6-2 as a starter this year. Purdy has a tougher matchup against the Washington Commanders. I like Zach Wilson going up against the Jaguars on Thursday night, Big Fish. Should I start Pollard and Elliott? I think you can. I obviously am interested to know who else you have on your bench, Cookie Monster. But that said, I do think Pollard's a good play this week. Zeke is good for a touchdown almost every week, so I do feel like you can play both of them. MVP Metcalf, a loyal follower, asks, McKinnon or Joe Mixon? I definitely go with McKinnon. He's got the more favorable matchup against the Seattle Seahawks defense, where Joe Mixon's going up against the Patriots run D that's pretty good. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. As we mentioned last week, AJ, I thought McKinnon was a really good play. He obviously had big points for fantasy owners. I think he will again. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Once we get up to 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Henry asks, start two, Olave, Monty, or Pacheco? Well, for me, this is really about the weather. Supposed to have terrible weather conditions for the game between the Saints and the Browns. Supposed to be snow, rain, foggy, windy, cold, just terrible. The over-under for that game is set at 32 points right now. I think that tells you what Vegas thinks Olave's production is going to be. So for that reason, I would sit Olave, Henry. He'd be the one I'd sit. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Cookie Monster asks, should I start A.J. Brown? I would. I actually like him even if Jalen Hurts doesn't play. I think Gardner Minshew could have a magical game if he goes and starts this. He gave the eulogy for Mike Leach today. You imagine he's just on an emotional roller coaster. Sometimes football and sports provides the best outlet for that kind of emotion. And the Dallas Cowboys secondary is got a lot of injuries. They're giving up a lot of pass yards the last few weeks. So for those reasons, I do like A.J. Brown this week. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, Juju, pick two. That's an easy one for me. I'd go Mike Evans and CeeDee Lamb as my two starts. I'm really fading Juju Smith-Schuster. Don't like him this week. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at ButtFumble Sports. Pretty Boy Roy asks, who off the waiver wire at running back should you consider? I have a number of players that I'm recommending off the waiver wire. Make sure you check out our content at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We put out waiver wire watch videos. Those are being released today, tonight, tomorrow. So make sure you're following us. The running backs that I like off the waiver wire, Zach Moss of the Indianapolis Colts. No Jonathan Taylor. Moss is rostered in less than 1% of leagues on ESPN. He's projected to get 9 fantasy points. I think he's a great pickup this week against a Chargers defense that's ranked 26th in fantasy against running backs. Another one to consider, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. He's rostered in about 48% of leagues on ESPN. While he's only projected to get 6.5 fantasy points, he's playing a Bears defense that's 29th in fantasy against running backs. Joshua Kelly, also someone you may want to consider, rostered in 5% of leagues on ESPN. He's playing that Colts defense that that's ranked 28th in fantasy versus running backs. So those are a few of the running backs I like off the waiver wire. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports to check out all the players that I like off the waiver wire this week. Answering your fantasy questions. And if you're worried I'm not going to get to any, just give a small gift. A little icon shows up next to your name. It doesn't need to be a lot. It can be half a penny. But a little icon shows up next to your name. It allows me to find you really easily in the chat, allows me to scroll through. I answer every question of those who have that little icon. So make sure you're doing that just like Dead People 84 did. That way I can find you every time, answer your question right away. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us on Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Joe Loco 123, is Deion Jackson or Zach Moss worth the start? I had JT, but now he's out and have Chuba Hubbard and Foreman. Yes, I do think Jackson and Moss are worth the start. I would go with Moss, I think, over Jackson just slightly. I know we saw Deion Jackson in the passing game earlier this year, but I like Zach Moss. I think he's the more physical and more likely to get opportunities in the red zone. Dead People 84 asks, okay, if Hurts is out, who should I go start? Geno, Minshew, or Purdy? That's a no-brainer for me. It's got to be Geno Smith. He could have a really big day going up against that secondary of the Chiefs that gives up a lot of passing yards. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Damian Skyberg, who's a really loyal follower, asks, pick one, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, or Zay Jones. Well, believe it or not, this week, that's Deontay Johnson for me. I like his matchup the most. Hate Kirk this week, hate Jones this week. I know Damian Sky, I turned you on to them last week. Hope they both did well for you. Obviously, they both did, given their matchup. But that said, like them last week, don't like them this week. They have a tough matchup against the Jets. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter, answering all of your questions. We're going to do this for another hour and a half, 2 hours or so. So just buckle up, join us, make sure you're asking your questions. Joe Loco, yes, that means Zach Moss over Deontay Foreman for me. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're worried that I'm missing your question or you want me to get to it right away, just give a small gift. I'll jump right to your question because the little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy for me to see it in the chat. Dead People 84 just did that. Okay, thanks. If Jackson is still out, Andrews are okay. I actually, if Lamar Jackson plays, I like Andrews finally. I think he could have a good week. But that say, if Lamar Jackson doesn't go, I would go with okay. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Back to answering your questions. Dennis asks, start three, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Garrett Wilson, or Christian Watson. Okay, that's a lot to break down. I'm going to lean towards Garrett Wilson. Man, that's a tough one only because I'm a little concerned about the weather. There's supposed to be rain in that game. I will go with Garrett Wilson. I'll go with Chris Godwin. And I'll go with Christian Watson. I'll lean T. Higgins slightly out just because I think Jamar Chase could have a decent day in Higgins, but I'm not as crazy about that matchup against the Patriots. Josh asks K9 or Pacheco. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Pacheco. Seahawks are terrible against the run. Raw B asks Cousins or Carr. I'll lean just slightly towards Cousins. Knox or Kmet. I'm definitely going with Knox. Pacheco or Fournette. Grant, you got to go with Pacheco. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. And if you want to make sure I answer your question, just give a small gift. I'll see a little icon next to your name, just like Joe Loco 123, DJ Moore, or Josh Palmer. I really like DJ Moore this week, Joe. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Kev Bears asks, Hurts play? I don't know if he's going to play. I thought he was going to be out. I thought they would rest him. I thought it was kind of an easy decision. But it sounds like Nick Sirianni is actually encouraging the notion that he could play, whether that's a bit of a decoy with the Dallas Cowboys or not. Sounds like Hurts isn't being ruled out just yet. That said, if he is ruled out, Gardner Minshew might be a nice pickup off the waiver wire. Patrick asks, Zonovan Knight or James Cook? I'll lean just slightly towards James Cook. Zonovan Knight a bit banged up right now. Is Deion Jackson or Zach Moss worth the start? Yes, he is, Joe Loco. Okay, Prize Mall, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but I got your question. Thank you for the gift. Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, or Najee Harris in the flex. I think I'd lean just slightly towards CeeDee Lamb. That said, I could see Garrett Wilson having a good day and Najee Harris having a good day, but I'd lean just slightly towards CeeDee Lamb. Chandler Wolf asks, PPR, pick one. A.J. Dillon, Pacheco, White, Dotson, Godwin, or Jackson. For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm going Pacheco. Godwin would be number 2 out of that group. Anthony asks, Prescott, Tua, or Deshaun Watson. Well, the weather is going to impact Deshaun Watson's production, Prescott's facing the better defense, so I'll go with Tua Tagovailoa. Garrett Wilson or DJ Moore. I think I'm going to lean just slightly towards DJ Moore, I think. I like Garrett Wilson. I think they're going to have very similar games. Jared Goff or Trevor Lawrence. Oh, that's a really tough one for me. I'll lean just slightly towards Jared Goff. I really don't like the matchup Trevor Lawrence has this week against the Jets on short rest. Browns, Rams, or Vikings defense. For me, believe it or not, it's the Browns defense, in part because the weather will work in your favor. I'm expecting a very sloppy, very ugly, low-scoring game in that Saints-Cleveland game, so it might be a good opportunity to take the Browns defense purely from the weather helping you out. Make sure you follow us and hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around the action for tonight, for this week's games. Prime time asks Etienne or Pollard. I'll lean towards Pollard. Zay Jones or Christian Kirk. Well, out of those two, I probably lean towards Zay Jones. Christian Kirk is probably going to get matched up against Sauce Gardner, so I actually might take wide receiver 2 over wide receiver 1 in that case. Tua or Geno Smith. I'm taking Geno Smith. I think he's got the more favorable matchup. The Chiefs give up a lot of passing yards. Sanders or Montgomery. I'm going with Sanders. Ayuk or Mike Williams. Man, Mike Williams really doesn't have a good matchup this week against the Colts. For that reason, I might lean slightly towards Ayuk. Appreciate all you guys supporting us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. The next question we got is around Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins. Well, Kirk Cousins has a 1 p.m. matchup on Saturday at home. One of the reasons I like that is just because Kirk Cousins historically has played well in that situation. He's going up against the Giants defense. I'll lean just slightly towards Kirk Cousins, just slightly over Geno, but I think both players have good games. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a poll. We have a lot of fun doing those. Start 2, Lenny, Etienne, Jamal Williams. Well, for that one, I'm kind of fading Leonard Fournette a bit, but that said, I'm going to lean slightly towards Etienne and Jamal Williams. Sports Michael asks Olave or Dobbins. Well, Olave is a bit banged up, but I like his matchup, and I certainly like the weather he has a lot more, so I'll lean towards J.K. Dobbins. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Answering all of your fantasy questions to make sure you cash your bets and win your fantasy matchups for this week. Okay, Rod Valdez asks, Burks, Peoples-Jones with potential snow game. Yeah, exactly. I don't like Peoples-Jones in that game with the weather. I would fade him, so I lean towards Burks. Not crazy about him either, so you may want to consider someone off the waiver wire. I know Burks would be going up against the Texans, but I feel like the play in the Texans game is Derrick Henry in that run game. Not crazy about the passing game there. Joe from New York asks Tom Brady or Tua Tagovailoa. I'll say Tom Brady just slightly. I like his matchup a little bit more. I know Tua has those speedsters out in Waddle and Tyreek Hill, but I think this may be the swan song for Tom Brady going up against the Cardinals defense that's bad against the pass. Might be a good opportunity for Brady to cash in on some points for a last time. Rashad White or Ayuk. I'm scared of Ayuk though with Purdy. I'd agree. I'd lean slightly towards Rashad White. Pittman or Ayuk. I'm going to go with Ayuk. Njoku, Komet, Waller, or Knox. For me, I can finally believe in Darren Waller once again. We saw his production on Sunday against the Patriots. I like Waller on that one, Jesse. Godwin, DJ Moore, Rashad White, or Brian Robinson in the flex. I'll lean just slightly towards Godwin right now with DJ Moore number 2. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Josh asks, Hopkins, Diggs, Chase, start 2. I'm going to lean towards Diggs, and I'll lean towards Chase. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. And if you're worried that I'm missing your question, just give a small gift. A little icon shows up next to your name. It allows me to see it every time. I never miss a question from you after that. Flex Chubb, McKinnon, or Dobbins. I'll go with McKinnon. I think he's got the best matchup. Appreciate that gift, Chris. Chris's question is Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. purely by default, I'll go Trevor Lawrence. I don't like his matchup against the Jets, but Deshaun Watson has a terrible situation with the weather expected in Cleveland. So I think Deshaun Watson isn't going to get a lot of points. Therefore, I go with Trevor Lawrence. But you may want to consider picking someone up off the waiver wire. That might be the better play. Zay Jones or Amari Cooper? Well, for a similar reason, I think I lean towards Zay Jones. Bad matchup, but I'd rather have the bad matchup than bad weather. Zay Jones or Garrett Wilson? Similar situation in some ways. Oh, thank you so much, Damian. Similar situation in that Zay Jones going up against the tougher matchup. Garrett Wilson, this one's going to be in rain, but I like Garrett Wilson more. Garrett Wilson over Zay Jones. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Graham Schmidt asked, is Dobbins a good flex this week? Yeah, you just want to make sure he's healthy. He's a little banged up. Might show up on the injury report this week, but I do think he's a good flex play. Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, you got to start two. I'll lean towards Mike Evans and Garrett Wilson out of those three. Devontae Smith, Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, or Waller at the flex. Okay, Jacob, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Waller in that one. Goddard, Njoku, or Ingram. I'm going to lean towards Goddard in that one. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Rod Valdez asks, Zerline or Pinheiro? Wow, don't get a lot of kicker questions in here. Want to make sure I'm giving you good advice, so I'm just doing a little bit of research. Okay, I'd go with Zerline out of those two. I'd go Zerline. Njoku or I never know how to pronounce that guy's name, so I always just say OK. I'd go with OK over Njoku. And apologies to him. I know I should get that right, but start two. Mike Evans, Zay Jones, T. Higgins, or Christian Watson. I'll go Mike Evans and Christian Watson. Jackson, Najee Harris, Latavius Murray, or Walker at RB2. Believe it or not, I'm going to lean slightly towards Najee Harris out of that group. Waddle or DJ Moore. Hard for me not to start Waddle after what I saw last week, Tommy. I'll start Waddle. Pittman or Walker. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Walker. Zeke Elliott or Jerick McKinnon. I'm going to lean towards Jerick McKinnon. He's got the more favorable matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around some of the action coming up this week. We got a question that just came in from YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing and following us on YouTube as well. Zay Jones, Mike Evans, or Gabe Davis. I'm going to go with Mike Evans. Make sure you're following on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, at Fumble Sports. Joe Burrow or Justin Fields. I'm leaning towards Joe Burrow. Moore or Pacheco. I'll go Pacheco, Luca. Jacob asks, any good defenses to look at this week? Yes, plenty of them. They include the LA Chargers. That's one I really like this week. You could see them play really well. Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense might be one that you also want to consider. Broncos, Rams, both of those might be available as well off the waiver wire. Juju or Kamara? Well, the weather in Cleveland is going to be miserable, but that actually could... Oh, thanks, Damian Sky, for the hat. That could actually benefit Kamara. It could be a heavy run game. So, Jaden, I would go with Kamara. Olave or Zay Jones? Well, Simon, that weather works against you if you have Olave, so I like Zay Jones over Olave. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. That quick poll will be around two of the quarterbacks that are going head-to-head this week. So make sure you're hitting that like button, and we'll do a quick poll. We just hit 5,000 likes because our community is absolutely awesome. But before I do, I'm going to answer this one question from Dead People 84. Rashad White, Slayton, or Bam in the flex? Believe it or not, I'm leaning towards Slayton. He's got the best matchup going up against that Vikings secondary. We just hit 5,000 likes, so let's do a quick poll around the quarterbacks for Thursday Night Football. Which quarterback will have more passing yards? Smiley face Trevor Lawrence, crying face Zach Wilson. Again, here's the poll question. Which quarterback will have more passing yards on Thursday Night Football? Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars or Zach Wilson of the New York Jets? Let's see what you guys think. Doing a quick poll about the Thursday night football game. Which quarterback will have more passing yards? Smiling face Trevor Lawrence, crying face Zach Wilson. What do you guys think? Smiling face Trevor Lawrence, crying face Zach Wilson. Which quarterback will have more passing yards this Thursday night football? Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Which quarterback will have more passing yards on Thursday night football? Smiling face Trevor Lawrence, crying face Zach Wilson. What do you guys think? Appreciate all of you joining us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Just a few seconds left for this poll. Smiling face Trevor Lawrence, crying face Zach Wilson. Which quarterback has more passing yards on Thursday night football? Let's see what you guys think. And by a very wide margin, you guys say Trevor Lawrence. Bit of a surprise on this one. Trevor Lawrence last Sunday, 318 passing yards against the Cowboys. Zach Wilson, do you know how many he had against the Detroit Lions? He had 317. So only one fewer passing yard for Zach Wilson than Trevor Lawrence. And he's going up against the worst defense. So believe it or not, the quarterback that I think will actually have more passing yards on Thursday night football is Zach Wilson. Believe it or not, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a tough time with that secondary of the New York Jets. I think Trevor Lawrence, between the screen game and passes downfield to Elijah Moore, Tyler Conklin, and of course Garrett Wilson, I see Zach Wilson having more passing yards than Trevor Lawrence. Would love to hear your take. Hit us up at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and of course on YouTube. Answering your fantasy football questions for another hour and a half. We'll continue to go on. Rod Valdez, Latavius Murray over Burks. Yep, I like Latavius Murray more. Godwin or Mike Williams. I like Godwin. Aiden asks, Elliott, Zay Jones, Pittman, or Swift at the flex. I like Zeke Elliott, especially because he's usually good for a touchdown. Dirty Dallas asks, Justin Fields or Joe Burrow. I'd go Joe Burrow. Luca asks, Higbee, Conklin, or OK. I would go with Conklin. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Jacob asks, is Kittle a good start this week? I got Waller on the bench. Kittle is not a good start this week. He's going up against a defense that's much better against the tight end. I would go with Waller. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Mohammed asks, McKinnon, Olave, or Etienne, pick two. Kind of by default, I'm going to go with McKinnon and Etienne. Olave dealing with some really tough weather in that matchup between the Saints and Browns. So I think the passing game is going to be kind of null and void. So I wouldn't go with Olave. I would sit Olave and start McKinnon and Etienne. Flex Kirk or Rashad White. I'm going to lean towards Rashad White just slightly, actually. Devontae Smith or Hopkins. I think in this one, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Devontae Smith. I think Hopkins could be a good play, but I'll lean slightly towards Devontae Smith. It may switch. I may change that. If Minshew's starting, I may feel better about Hopkins. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're worried that I'm going to miss your question, just give us a small gift. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be like a cent or whatever. But that way a little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy for me to find your name, find your handle, and answer your question. Once you do that, I'll never miss a question. I'll answer it every time. Make sure you're also hitting that like button. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll around some of the action and matchups for this week's slate of games. So hit that like button as many times as you can. JP Murphy asks, Christian Watson or Garrett Wilson? I'll lean just slightly towards Christian Watson, just slightly. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Some questions from YouTube. Mike Evans or DK Metcalf? I would definitely go DK Metcalf. He's got a good matchup up against the Kansas City Chiefs secondary. McKinnon or Walker? I would go with McKinnon on that one. And then pick two, Olave, Amari Cooper, or Zay Jones. Well, you have a problem there. I don't like Olave or Amari Cooper. The over-under in that Saints-Browns game is set at 32 points. That tells you what Vegas thinks the chances of offensive production are going to be. So I like Zay Jones out of those three, and I would go try and find someone off the waiver wire at wide receiver who you can pick up. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports as we answer your questions throughout the week, not just on this TikTok Live. Josiah Vincent asks the question, Zach Wilson or Gardner Minshew? Well, the fact that you don't know if Minshew is going to play, I lean towards Zach Wilson. I think Wilson could actually have a better day statistically than people think. Kittle, Goddard, or Ingram? Dakota, I would go Goddard. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and give us a small gift to make sure that I see an icon next to your name and answer your question right away. Rod Valdez asks, Everett or waiver wire pickup? I'm not as crazy about Everett as I've been in past weeks. I still think that he's probably a good flex play, which simply means that I think he's someone who could get you at least a higher floor than some of the other players out there. But that said, if you do want to know some players off the waiver wire at tight end that I like this week, they include Noah Fant, who's owned in less than 40% of leagues on ESPN, as well as Daniel Bellinger. He's another one you may want to consider. He's owned in just 11% of leagues. He's projected to get 4.7 fantasy points going up against the Vikings defense that's ranked 22nd in fantasy versus tight ends. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Oh, it's Deadpool. Sorry, Deadpool. Didn't mean to get that one wrong. Deadpool84. Didn't mean to be shouting out dead people. Don't want no zombies. Deadpool asks, defense, Buffalo or Cleveland? Well, maybe surely by default, you may want to take Cleveland just because of the weather. While normally I would say Buffalo, they have to deal with Justin Fields, who could obviously gash them in the running game. Cleveland might be the better play because of the weather. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Do I start Trevor Lawrence in case Hurts is out, or do I keep in Hurts? That really depends on your ability. If you could get Minshew and that way have a little bit of insurance if Hurts is out, I would probably go that route. Otherwise, yes, I would start Trevor Lawrence. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Freiermuth or Waller? That's a tough one for me because I do like Freiermuth this week, but I lean just slightly towards Waller. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Nick Chubb or Waddle? I'm going to lean towards Waddle. Obviously, the weather may not impact Chubb's production, but he's been dealing with a bit of an injury. So that said, I'm going to lean towards Waddle in that one. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Noah, if you are considering starting or sitting Chubb, I would consider starting him. You just want to make sure he's healthy. But if he's a go in that game, he's one of the few players that I like. Andy Dalton, Zach Wilson, or Kenny Pickett? Well, Lucas, Wilson and Pickett are both players that I'm considering recommending picking up off the waiver wire. Andy Dalton is an absolute fade for me. Wouldn't touch Andy Dalton at all. Don't like that weather. Don't like the situation. I leaned slightly, I think, towards Zach Wilson over Kenny Pickett, just slightly. But I think both could have very similar games. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Dobbins, Patterson, or Moss? That's a tough one for me because I actually really like Moss this week. He could be a nice play. I lean towards Dobbins if he's healthy. Otherwise, I'd go Moss. Patterson's someone I'm definitely sitting. Purdy or Minshew? Well, if Minshew plays, I think it's Minshew for me. Patriots defense or Cowboys defense? You got to go with the Cowboys defense, whether it's Minshew or a banged-up Jalen Hurts. I think the Patriots could get gashed at home by the Cincinnati Bengals. And at least with the Cowboys defense, you're good for a couple sacks from Micah Parsons. Make sure you're hitting that like button at Fumble Sports. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. And if you give a small gift, a little icon shows up next to your name, makes it really easy to see your question, and I can answer it right away, just like it's JH. Makes it really easy to see this question. Slayton or Dotson? Like Dotson, he's someone I recommend off the waiver wire as a pickup. That said, I would go with Slayton. Slayton has the better matchup. The Minnesota Vikings in the secondary are just atrocious, so I like Slayton slightly more than I like Dotson. Sticky Ricky 33 gave us a small gift, and that way I could see his question, which comes up, Waddle or CD Lamb. I'm going to lean slightly, I think, towards Waddle right now, just because there's so many mouths to feed in that Cowboys offense. You could see that running game being the focal point. That said, I like Waddle just slightly. Matthew asks, Etienne or Pacheco? I'd go Pacheco. Michael Pittman or Zay Jones? I'd go Zay Jones. Waddle or Lamb, like I said a moment ago, I lean just slightly towards Waddle. Schultz or Ingram, I'm going to lean slightly towards Schultz. James Cook or Foreman, I might like James Cook in that one. That might be the better play. He's the better matchup. Waller, Moore, Fournette, or Knox, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Waller, J-Dog. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And if you're worried that I'm just missing your question, or if you want to get an answer right away, just give us a small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot. That way a little icon shows up next to your name in the comments section. Makes it really easy for me to find your question and answer it right away. Not asking for a lot. Doesn't need to be like that. Just allows me to see your question as we get so many that come in. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Have a lot of fun doing those. Here's a question that comes in from YouTube. Who wins the semifinals? Team 1 that has Mahomes, Eckler, Adams, Watson, Connor, Kittle, Garrett Wilson, and the Patriots defense, or Team 2, which has Brady, Hill, Metcalf, Cook, McKinnon, Pacheco, or the Chiefs defense? Believe it or not, I like Team 2. I think all their players are going to have pretty good games. AMC The Movement, who gave us a small gift earlier, and so I can see that icon next to their name, asked Tua or Deshaun Watson. For me, that's a no-brainer. I'm going Tua. The weather in Cleveland is concerning, and I think Tua is going to have a good game at home. Thank you, DP Gold. Appreciate the support. Now I can see your question as you ask it right away. Watson, Juju, or Singletary? I lean just slightly, I think, towards Watson. I think Singletary could have a good game as well. Juju's the one I'm definitely sitting, but I kind of lean just slightly towards Christian Watson. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate the gift, Dergian, that you just sent. I'll make sure I answer your question right away. Just looking for it in the chat right now. If you don't mind asking it again, I'll find it right away. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Deadpool84, should I sit Chubb? I would wait to see what his health status is. If he's a healthy enough player to start for the Browns, I would play him. He's one of the few players. It's really Chubb and Kamara are the only two players in that game I like. I'm expecting a low-scoring game, so I think the running backs are the only two players I would lean towards. Dergian369, who gave us a gift, so now that icon shows up next to his name, asked Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Cousins. I know Jones has the better matchup, but Cousins, 1 p.m. game at home. We've kind of seen this story. We know how it's going to play out. Expect him to get points, so I lean just slightly towards Cousins. Appreciate all of you joining us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. MVP Metcalf asks, do I think the Seahawks have any chance against the Chiefs? From a gambling standpoint, I do. I think the Seahawks could cover against the Chiefs, but I do like the Chiefs on the money line. Is it safe to drop Hollywood Brown? I think so. I mean, I think he's got a good matchup this week, and he could have a good game. But that said, there are other players that I like. I just don't trust Colt McCoy and the Cardinals' passing game enough right now. Zay Jones or Mike Evans? I'm going Mike Evans. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll around around this week's games. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Emanu2123, who gave us a gift. Now I can see that icon next to their name. Ask Goddard or Schultz. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Goddard. General advice for the playoffs. First time making it. Well, first of all, JC, congratulations on making the playoffs. Welcome to extra fantasy football action. The advice I would give, don't get hung up on brand names. Just because you've been starting someone for 10 straight weeks or for a majority of the regular season doesn't mean you have to automatically start them this week. Play the best players, play the best matchups, play what you think's going to win you this week. There's no loyalty. No one's going to get upset if you don't start someone. So just because you've been starting someone all year round doesn't matter. You got to win this week. Put in the players you think are going to get you the most points. That's all that matters. Don't stick towards loyalty, whether it's fan loyalty or player loyalty. Appreciate all of you joining us. If you're afraid I'm missing or skipping your question accidentally, just give us a small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot, but what it does is it puts a little icon next to your name, makes it really easy for me to see your question in the chat, and that way I can get to it really fast as we have a lot of questions coming in. Of course, hit that like button as well. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do a quick question around the Thursday night football game. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. It's JH asked, Juju or Dotson? I would go with Dotson on that one. Is it safe to drop Rachaad White? No, I think there are better players you could drop, and I don't think there are as many running backs off the waiver wire that have better production than Rachaad White. Chubb or James Conner? I'm going to lean just slightly towards James Conner for now, in part because of Chubb's health. But if Chubb's healthy, maybe we revisit that come Saturday or Sunday. I guess that would be Saturday because he's playing on Saturday. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Broncos defense, Titans defense, Browns defense. Well, I'm going to lean slightly towards the Browns defense just because of the weather, but the Broncos defense could be a really good play as well going up against the Rams. So I lean just slightly towards the Browns, but the Broncos could be a good play as well. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Evan Ingram or Njoku? Not crazy about Njoku's matchup this week. Don't think it's a good one. Obviously, also the weather a major factor, so I'm going to go with Evan Ingram over those two. Eric asked Dobbins, Judy, Waller, or Njoku. I got you, man. Waller would be the one I would start. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram? I'm going to lean towards Mark Andrews as long as Lamar Jackson is playing. If Lamar Jackson isn't playing, the problem is Ingram kicks off before then. So really, you're not going to get the opportunity to find out. So that in that case, I'd lean towards Mark Andrews. I don't like Evan Ingram's matchup. Zach Moss or James Cook? I'll go with Zach Moss. Goddard or Freiermuth? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll lean just slightly towards Freiermuth, I think. Just slightly. Both will get good yards, though. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Marcellus asks, start two, Jones, Dobbins, Walker, or McKinnon. Well, I'm certainly starting McKinnon. I think Jones would probably be number two, just because Dobbins is a little bit banged up. Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, or Zach Wilson to start for the at QB for the championship. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Aaron Rodgers. I want to say Zach Wilson, but I'm not going to put you in that position in your championship, putting too much risk on Zach Wilson. I don't like Trevor Lawrence this week, Bud Voyage. I do think that's a bad one for you, simply because the matchup against the Jets defense. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Zay Jones or Zonovan Knight? I'll go with Zay Jones, Dan. If you're worried I'm missing your question, just give us a small gift, just like Jano Seward gave. I hope I'm getting your name right. I'll answer your question right away. Zach Wilson or Gardner Minshew? I'm going to lean slightly towards Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson, Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juju, or Zay Jones, pick two. I'll go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'll go with Garrett Wilson. Wilson, Minshew, Goff, or Watson? Well, I really don't like Watson this week. I'm going to lean slightly towards Zach Wilson. If Chubb doesn't play, asked Deadpool, should I start Rachaad White, Bam, or waiver wire? I'd look to the waiver wire just to see who's available. If you can get Zach Moss, I'd certainly consider him. Otherwise, I'd go Rachaad White. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Appreciate the support, Emily. Let me answer your question right away. Richie James, Burks, Davis, or Chark? Pick two. Well, I'm going to lean slightly towards DJ Chark would be one of them, and I'll lean just slightly towards Richie James. I actually think Richie James could have a good game up against that Vikings secondary, so while he's kind of an off-the-board play, I like that. So it's DJ Chark and Richie James for me, Emily. Montgomery or Foreman, I'll go with Montgomery just slightly. Deshaun Watson or Jones, I'm going Jones, king of buckets. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And we've hit 10,000 likes, so let's do another quick poll. We'll do this one around, who do you think will win the Thursday night football game? Smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Who do you think is going to win the Thursday night football game? This one's a pick'em right now, so Vegas is kind of on the fence. Who do you think wins? Smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Let us know what you think. Which team do you think is going to win Thursday night football? Smiling face if you think it's the Jaguars, crying face if you think it's the Jets. Hit us up on this poll question. Smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Which team do you think will win on Thursday night football? Vegas has it as a pick'em. The over-under set at 38 points. Doing a quick poll after we got 10,000 likes. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Which team wins on Thursday night football? Right now, the Jets are slightly given the better odds by at least our audience out there on TikTok Live. What do you think? Smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Get your answer in. Who do you think is going to win on Thursday night football? Coming down to the wire, smiling face Jaguars, crying face Jets. Which team wins on Thursday night football? Coming down to the wire, and you guys think the Jets are going to win this one. I tend to agree with you. I'm leaning slightly towards the Jets on the money line, but the Fumble Sports pick for Thursday night football is the over. I like the over 36.5 points in that one. Think there's a good chance that could hit. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Another question out there answering your fantasy questions. Chuba Hubbard or Zach Moss? I'm going with Zach Moss. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that follow button and, of course, hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This next quick poll, I'll just tease it, will be about two running backs. Which running back will get more rushing yards this week? So a fun one. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Get us up to 15,000 likes. Broncos defense or Titans defense? I would go with the Broncos defense. Mike Williams or Aaron Jones at the flex? Well, Avery, I really don't like Aaron Jones I really don't like Mike Williams' matchup this week, so I lean towards Aaron Jones. Tennessee Titans or Chargers? Well, when it comes to their defense, I'd prefer the Chargers defense up against the Colts. I think they could throw a couple picks. That said, if it comes to which team do I like more in a betting standpoint, I like both of them. Goddard or Ingram? I'd go with Goddard. What do I do about Jalen Hurts not playing? You find someone off the waiver wire and you make it work for you. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll about two running backs and which one will have more rushing yards. DeBrosh, I always get the names wrong on here, so forgive me if I don't pronounce them right. So Hurts is injured and I don't know if he will play. Should I pick up Trevor Lawrence off the waiver wire? He's not the one I would pick up off the waiver wire. I don't think he's a good matchup this week going up against the Jets secondary. That said, some quarterbacks I do like off the waiver wire. Daniel Jones, who's owned in just 58% of leagues on ESPN, going up against a Vikings defense that's ranked 25th in fantasy versus quarterbacks. Another quarterback that I like is Kenny Pickett. He is projected to get 16 fantasy points this week. He's only owned in 8% of leagues on ESPN. He was out last week with a concussion. He's already been cleared. He's going up against a Raiders defense that's ranked 28th in fantasy versus quarterbacks. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Once we get up to 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This one about two running backs and which one will get more rushing yards. Raiders defense or Titans defense? On that one, I'll lean just slightly towards the Titans defense. Pollard or Stevenson? I'll go Pollard. McKinnon or Miles Sanders? Matt, I'd go with McKinnon. Burrow or Geno. Eric, I know it's not the better matchup, but I'd go with Burrow. Zay Jones over Waddle. No, Connor, I'd gotta go with Waddle. Raiders or Titans, like I said, I lean just slightly towards the Titans. Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Believe it, Gabe, I lean slightly towards I lean slightly towards Justin Fields. I think he could gash the Bills in the run game. We saw on the last matchup the Bills had, they gave up a lot of rushing yards. Don't like Trevor Lawrence's matchup. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Gabe Davis or Zay Jones, I would go with Gabe Davis. Ingram or Mark Andrews, I'm going Mark Andrews. Freiermuth or Gerald Everett, I would go with Freiermuth, Brando. Minshew or Zach Wilson, I would lean just slightly towards Zach Wilson. Why Pollard over Stevenson? Because I think Pollard actually has the better matchup, as well as the opportunity to get more points in the passing game as well. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 12,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll comparing two running backs and which one will get more rushing yards in Week 16. Answering all of your fantasy questions a little while longer, about an hour or so more. Do I like Keenan Allen and ETN this week? I'm not crazy about Keenan Allen this week. He's got a tougher matchup against the Colts than he had last week, even though he didn't put up as many points as I expected last week. I prefer ETN just slightly. Emily asks, Andrews or Knox? That's an interesting one. If Lamar Jackson plays, I like Andrews. Otherwise, I would go with Dawson Knox. Is Geno Smith a good start this week? Yes, he is, Nathan. Cole Kmet or Njoku? Well, Matthew, just because the weather I expect in that that Browns-Saints game, I would sit Njoku and I would go with Cole Kmet, though I'm not crazy about his matchup either. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button as many times as you can at Fumble Sports. Alec asks, start Zach Moss? Yes, I would. Jay Richards asks, Njoku or Schultz? I'd go Schultz. Meerkat asks, Mixon, Deontay Johnson, or Dobbins? Choose one. Well, if Dobbins is healthy, I would lean towards Dobbins, but for the moment, I'm saying Deontay Johnson. Matt asks, Ingram or Higbee for the tight end position? Ooh, that's a tough one for me. I'll lean just slightly towards Ingram. I know Higbee finally got a touchdown. He hadn't gotten a lot of production this year, but I'd lean just slightly towards Ingram. Purdy or Wilson? I'd go with Wilson. Goddard or Ingram? I'd go with Goddard on that one. Is Fields a good start this week? I don't think he's a bad start. I'm not crazy about him, but that said, I do think he can gash the Bills in the run game. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Zay Jones or Keenan Allen? On that one, I will lean towards Keenan Allen. Zay Jones has a tough matchup of his own. Keenan Allen, you have a higher floor on that one, and for that reason, I go Keenan Allen. AZ Marco 7, appreciate the support, man. Taysom Hill or Darren Waller? I'll lean just slightly towards Darren Waller. Freiermuth or Ingram? I'm going Freiermuth. Okay or Everett? I'll go okay. I'm not crazy about it, though. Thoughts on Deshaun Watson this week? Well, Jacob, he's going to be dealing with some really tough weather, so I don't like him as a start this week. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll, and this quick poll will be about two running backs that you guys have been asking about a lot this week. I'll answer which one I think will get more rushing yards after you guys answer the poll, and that way you'll know which one I prefer. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Swift or ETN? I'd go Swift. Knox or Ingram? I'd go Knox. Aaron Jones or J.K. Dobbins? For the moment, I lean towards Aaron Jones. ETN or Jamal Williams? For the moment, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Jamal Williams. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. And if you're worried that I'm missing your question, just give a really small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot. That way a little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy for me to see you in the chat. Just like Debrock, I don't know how to pronounce it, but however, every time I can see his question because it shows up right away. Do you like Zach Wilson this week? Yeah, I do. He threw for 317 passing yards last week, including 2 touchdowns. You can see he's actually played well in his starts. He's 6-2 this year as a starter, and he's going up against a Jaguars defense that's not that good. So I could see Zach Wilson having a decent day. Zach Tramp asks, Barkley, Stevenson, James Conner, pick 2. I'll go with James Conner, and I'll go with James Conner, and let me check. I want to see something real quick before I answer that. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We want to get up to 15,000 likes. That way we can do our quick poll. Okay, Zach Tramp. I'm going to lean towards Stevenson and James Conner. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we get up to 15,000 likes, we're going to do a quick poll around 2 running backs. Which one's going to get more rushing yards this week? Zach Goddard or Ingram? I'd go Goddard. Daniel Jones or Brock Purdy? I'd go Daniel Jones. AZ Marco 7, thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Do you like the Cleveland defense this week, or should I get Zach Will? Thank you, Bud Woods. Appreciate it. I do like the Cleveland defense this week because of the weather. Zach Wilson, again, like I said, he could be a decent play this week. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Devontae Smith or Pittman? I like Devontae Smith. Walker, Stevenson, Montgomery, or Dalvin Cook? Well, Brando, I love Dalvin Cook this week. He's a must start for me. And I'm going to lean just slightly, I think, towards Stevenson, just because we've seen the Patriots, their offense is going to run through Stevenson. Hodges or Richie James? That's a tough one because I feel like both players are kind of in the same spot on that Giants offense. I'll lean just slightly towards Richie James, I think. Fields or Geno? I'm going to lean towards Geno. Patterson or Montgomery? I'll lean just slightly towards Montgomery. My only concern there is Khalil Herbert was activated for the Bears, so maybe a few less touches for Montgomery, but I still prefer Montgomery. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Pick 2, Pittman, Williams, or Zeke. Pittman and Williams don't have great matchups. I'll lean towards Williams and Zeke. If you're worried that I'm missing your question, just do what Bud Woods 10 did. Give us a very small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot, but that way a little icon shows up next to his name every time. I can see it in the chat. Makes it really easy to find it and answer it right away. Devontae Smith or A.J. Dillon? Well, A.J. Dillon, I'm worried about that concussion. Even if he's back, I prefer Devontae Smith. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Max asks McKinnon or Kamara. I lean slightly towards McKinnon. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Ayuk over Thielen? No, I would go with Thielen. Choose 2, asks Max. Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson. Well, if I'm picking 2, I don't like the weather that Deshaun Watson's going to be playing in, so I'll go with Aaron Rodgers 1 and Goff 2. Make sure you're hitting that like button after I answer your question, and of course, follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Appreciate all the support, and just like I just saw, this is the giving season. Give the gift of fantasy football and NFL advice to friends and family, so hit that share button as well. Share Fumble Sports with others. Allow others to get in on some of this fantasy football action. Maybe there are some teams in your fantasy league that are still in the playoffs that you want to give the extra boost to and hopefully get them into a championship matchup against you. Or maybe you are trying to be a good friend, a good mensch. Now that you're out of the fantasy football playoffs, you want to pass that along. Hit the share button At But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you're following us and hit that share button. And if you're worried that I'm not seeing your question, just give a small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot. I'm not trying to get a lot out of it. Just give a small gift. That way a little icon shows up next to your name, makes it really easy for me to see you in the chat and be able to answer your question right away. Okay, getting back to answering your questions. Kenneth Walker III or Jerick McKinnon? I would go with McKinnon. Andrew asked, pick 2, ETN, Rachaad White, or Pacheco. I would definitely go with Pacheco, and I'd lean slightly towards Rachaad White. Appreciate all the support you guys show us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. With Jonathan Taylor out, who are some running backs that I would consider picking up off the waiver wire? Well, first of all, make sure you're following us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You can see our waiver wire watch videos as those drop today, tomorrow, and Thursday to help you find the right players to pick up and add to your lineup. Some of the players you'll be seeing, a few of the ones I've already released. Zach Moss, owned in less than 1% of leagues on ESPN. He's projected to get over 9 fantasy points this week, playing a Chargers defense that's ranked 26th in fantasy against running backs. James Cook is another one. He's owned in less than 50% of leagues on ESPN. He might be a nice addition to your team as well. Make sure you're following us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Thielen or Watson? I lean slightly towards Watson. Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon? That's a no-brainer for me. I'm definitely going with Dalvin Cook. Make sure you're hitting that share button. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll around 2 running backs and which one will get more rushing yards this week. Don't want to miss that one, so hit 15,000 likes. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Okay, Pacheco or McKinnon? Well, I'd lean slightly towards McKinnon. We saw Pacheco get in the doghouse last week after a fumble, and McKinnon is involved in the passing game, so I lean just slightly towards McKinnon, I think. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 15,000 likes. Adam asks, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, or Christian Kirk? I'd go with Garrett Wilson. Brando, which defense do you prefer this week? Tampa Bay, Kansas City, or San Francisco? I lean slightly towards Tampa Bay, believe it or not. Make sure you follow us at But Fumble Sports. Whamco MG asks, Sanders or McKinnon? I would go with McKinnon. If you're afraid I'm missing your question, just give us a very small gift. A little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy to find it and answer your question. Trevor Lawrence or Gardner Minshew? I think I'd actually go with Gardner Minshew. Bud Woods 10 gave us a gift and now asks Elijah Moore, Hopkins, or Slayton. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Hopkins, but Slayton isn't a bad play this week either. Emily Jean asks Pacheco or Robinson. That's an easy one for me, Emily. I definitely go with Pacheco. Robinson has a bad matchup this week against the 49ers. Make sure you're following us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Kenneth Walker III or J.K. Dobbins? I'll say Kenneth Walker III for now. I'm just a little worried about J.K. Dobbins' health for this week, so I lean just slightly towards Walker. But make sure you check back with us once we get injury reports later in the week. Avery P. asks, pick 2, Pollard, Stevenson, Connor, Kenneth Walker III, or Aaron Jones? I'd go Pollard, and I lean just slightly towards Aaron Jones. Daniel Jones or Minshew? Believe it or not, I might lean towards Daniel Jones in that one. Make sure you're following us at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube, and of course at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Garrett Wilson or T. Higgins? I'd go Garrett Wilson. Bucks defense or Eagles defense? You got to go with the Bucks defense, no brainer. T. Higgins or Mike Williams? Mike Williams doesn't have the better matchup, so I lean just slightly towards T. Higgins, I think. Championship week for Usher 0535. Connor or Rachaad White at the flex? I think I lean just slightly towards Rachaad White. I know James... I don't want to say that. I'd go James Conner. I'll go James Conner. I'll say James Conner. Jay Bishaw asks, Aaron Jones, Stevenson, Montgomery, or Saquon, pick 3. I'll go Jones, Stevenson, and Barkley. Ingram or Dulcich. Well, Dulcich disappointed me last week. Not going to make that same mistake again. I'm going Evan Ingram. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. We have another half hour or more left of our show, so make sure you hit that like button. Every time we hit 5,000 likes, we do another quick poll. Those are a lot of fun, and also they always come with either a pick or a fantasy or player prop bet that I would make, so you don't want to miss this one. Which running back will have more rushing yards? Get us up to 15,000 likes. That way we can do that quick poll. Minshew or Darnold? That one I might go Minshew. Start 2, Terry, Olave, or Garrett Wilson. Easy one for me. Olave is definitely a sit this week. It's Terry McLaurin and Garrett Wilson for me. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Hit that like button and, of course, hit that share button as many times as you can. Give the gift of good fantasy football and football advice. Hit that share button. Who's going to take the lead, Zach Moss or Deion Jackson? I think it's going to be Zach Moss, at least in the running game. Fournette or ETN? I'll lean just slightly towards ETN. Thank you so much, Tyler. Kirk Cousins or Tua? I'll lean just slightly towards Tua Tagovailoa. McKinnon or Pollard? That's a tough one. I think both could have really good games. I like McKinnon's matchup more against the Seattle Seahawks defense. They're terrible against the run. Waddle or Lamb? I'm going to lean slightly towards Waddle. Godwin, CD, or Hopkins, start 2. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll go Godwin and CD Lamb. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Swift or Mostert? I would go with Mostert. Appreciate that, Tyler. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And let's get up to 15,000 likes. Once we do, we'll do another quick poll around 2 running backs and which one will have more rushing yards this upcoming week. Garrett Wilson or Jerry Jeudy? I definitely go Garrett Wilson. Metcalf or Williams? No brainer for me. I would go with Metcalf. Tua, Dak, or Trevor Lawrence? For me, I'd go Tua 1, Dak 2. I'd sit Trevor Lawrence this week. Appreciate all of you joining us. Tyler asked, bro, Dulcich almost sold me. Yeah, he was awful last week. He really disappointed. Herbert did bad. Herbert disappointed me too. So it was an off week for a couple guys. I thought Justin Herbert was going to play better. If Lamar Jackson is out, bench Andrews and play Chig. Yep, I agree. I agree with that. Juwan Johnson, I don't like. He had a good week last week, but he's in bad weather. I could see Bellinger. I like him as a waiver wire pickup, but I think OK would be the best one, Bellinger being 2. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. J.K. Dobbins or Kenneth Walker III? For now, I lean towards Kenneth Walker III. He's got the better matchup, plus J.K. Dobbins dealing with a few injuries, hooligans. Championship, pick 2, Swift, Rashad White, or Christian Kirk? I'd go Swift and Rashad White. Kirk has a bad matchup going up against Sauce Gardner. Tom Brady or Trevor Lawrence? Well, Mr. Simmons, I'd go Tom Brady. I don't like the matchup Trevor Lawrence has. Daniel Jones or Brock Purdy? Believe it or not, Tainter, I would go with Daniel Jones. Goddard over Ingram? That's right, Avery. I would go with Goddard. Schultz or Waller? Danny, I'd go Waller. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Let's get up to 15. Oh, we just hit 15,000 likes because you guys are absolutely amazing. The community that we have is incredible. We already have 25,000 followers on TikTok. It's incredible. We've only been around for a few months. The support you guys show us, unbelievable. Thank you so much. We are so humbled to be a place where you guys go for some entertainment and some information about your football, fantasy football, gambling, everything else. Okay, I've been teasing this for a while. The poll we're going to do right now is around 2 running backs. Which one will have more rushing yards? The 2 running backs, Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders. Who will have more rushing yards this week? Smiley face Dalvin Cook, crying face Miles Sanders. Which running back do you guys think will have more rushing yards this week? Dalvin Cook, smiley face, crying face Miles Sanders. Which running back do you guys think will have more rushing yards this week? One last time, that's smiley face Dalvin Cook, crying face Miles Sanders. Which running back will have more rushing yards this week? And let's go. Doing a quick poll because we just hit 15,000 likes. Which running back do you think will have more rushing yards this week? Dalvin Cook or Miles Sanders? Let us know in this quick poll. Appreciate all of you joining us at Fumble Sports. Doing a quick poll, which running back will have more rushing yards this week? Dalvin Cook or Miles Sanders? Let us know in this quick poll. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you answer our poll question. Which running back will have more rushing yards? Crying face Miles Sanders, smiling face Dalvin Cook. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button and of course follow us at Fumble Sports, and don't forget to subscribe so you know every time we go live. Our poll question: smiley face Dalvin Cook, crying face Miles Sanders. Which running back will have more rushing yards this week? Coming down to the final seconds of this one, by a wide margin, you guys think it's Dalvin Cook. I agree with you. Dalvin Cook projected to get 17 fantasy points this week, facing a Giants defense that's ranked 25th in fantasy versus running backs. Meanwhile, Miles Sanders facing a Cowboys defense that is ranked 4th in fantasy versus running backs. I prefer Dalvin Cook over Miles Sanders, so if you've got both of them, you know which one to start now. Let's do another quick poll. Once we hit 20,000 likes, make sure you hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. You don't want to miss this one. This is around a couple of wide receivers that we've talked about and which one will have more fantasy points. So hit that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 20,000 likes in a hurry. Gardner, Minshew, or Watson? That's a no-brainer for me. It would be Minshew. Watson has bad weather. Don't think he's a play this week. Zach Moss or Deion Jackson for the Colts? I would go with Zach Moss. Waller or Andrews this week? I prefer Waller. I just don't trust Andrews with Lamar Jackson, whether he'll be healthy or not, so I prefer Waller. Pacheco or McKinnon? Don't drop either one of them. Don't drop them. No. I would start McKinnon. I would start both of them if I could. It usually wouldn't be a question, but McKinnon or Mixon PPR, also Devontae Smith or Christian Kirk. I would go with McKinnon as my PPR. He's definitely the play, and I would go with Devontae Smith over Christian Kirk. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And if you're worried that I'm missing your question, just give us a small gift. It shows up as a little icon next to your name. Makes it really easy for me to see you in the chat and answer your question, just like Joey Kine did. Joey asked DJ Moore or Garrett Wilson. I lean just slightly towards Garrett Wilson. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you guys following us. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get up to 20,000 likes. Pacheco or Montgomery? I'd go Pacheco. Chubb or McKinnon? I'd go McKinnon. Walker or Sanders? I'd go Walker. Joey, I would go with Garrett Wilson over DJ Moore, Joey. I'd go Garrett Wilson over DJ Moore. Appreciate all the support you guys are showing us. Make sure you hit that like button and give us a small gift, just like T. Smith did. Minshew or Micah Parsons? Well, I don't know. I think Minshew is going to get to meet Micah Parsons a few times in that backfield if Jalen Hurts doesn't start in that game. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and hit that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This one will be about a couple wide receivers that we've talked about and which one will have more fantasy points. You don't want to miss that one. Hit that like button. Let's rapid fire up to 20,000 likes. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Montgomery or McLaurin? I'm going to lean just slightly towards McLaurin, Ryan. ETN, Pacheco, or Dobbins? I lean just slightly towards. Make sure you're joining us every time we go live. Hit that like button, hit that follow button, and of course subscribe. That way you know every time we go live this week, and you can get your fantasy questions and of course your game pick, total, and player prop bet questions answered. We don't just do fantasy, we do a lot of gambling. So once the fantasy football season ends, that's not the end of Fumble Sports. We'll be giving you good information all the time. Alex asked McKinnon or Garrett Wilson. Believe it or not, I would go with McKinnon. Toker asked Goff or Cousins. I would go with Cousins. McKinnon or Zeke, I'd go McKinnon. Lawrence or Fields? I'd actually go with Justin Fields. ETN, Pacheco, or Dobbins? I said Pacheco. Olave or Deontay Johnson? That's a no-brainer for me, Soap. I would go with Deontay Johnson. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. And if you're worried that I'm missing your question, just give us a small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot, but that way a little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy to find you every time in the chat. I never miss those people who support us in this new channel. So make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you give us a gift at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Higbee or Cole Kmet? Really don't like either one of them. I lean slightly towards Higbee, actually. Goddard or Ingram? I'd go Goddard. Dobbins or Zay Jones? I'd go J.K. Dobbins. Zay Jones or Watson? I'd go Christian Watson. Chargers versus the Colts. On that one, I like the Chargers to cover. I like Chargers on the spread on that one. You lost Hurts, Tua or Goff? I would go with Tua. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button as many times as you can at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok. Fields or Herbert? I lean just slightly towards Herbert. He doesn't have the better matchup, but I have faith in him. Godwin or Allen? I'd go Godwin, Alex. Rashad White, McKinnon, or J.K.? I'd go McKinnon. Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones? I'd go Daniel Jones, Jesus. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at ButtFumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll about a couple of wide receivers we've been talking about tonight and which one will get more fantasy points. You don't want to miss that, so hit that like button as many times as you can. Get us up to 20,000 likes. Let's do that in a hurry. Darius Slayton or Christian Kirk? Believe it or not, I'm going Darius Slayton. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you hit us up at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Chase or Brown? I'd go Chase. Thoughts on Brown's cold weather affecting the game? Think it's absolutely going to affect the game. Think one of the best plays of the week is the under in that one. Love that play. Worried about Trevor Lawrence and weather? Not as worried about him in weather as I am him against the Jets defense. I think that Jets defense is one of the best in the NFL against the pass. So even though it will be raining at MetLife Stadium, it's not the rain that I think will slow down Trevor Lawrence. It's Sauce Gardner in that defense. Lamar Jackson, if healthy, or Kirk Cousins? I would go with Kirk Cousins. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. Pete asks Mixon or Dobbins? I'd lean towards Dobbins, Pete. Lamar Jackson or Fields? Ooh, that's a tough one. Only if Lamar Jackson is healthy is it a tough one. I'm going to lean towards Lamar Jackson if he's healthy. Kittle and Njoku or Waller? No brainer for me. I'm going Waller, Alex. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 20,000 likes and do a quick poll. That way we can talk about two of the wide receivers and which one will have more fantasy points. These are two wide receivers that have come up a couple times tonight. DJ Moore or Drake London? I'd go DJ Moore. Ingram or OK? I'd go OK. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 20,000 likes. Tommy lost Jalen Hurts, Derek Carr or Brock Purdy? I'd go Derek Carr. Andrews or Ingram? If Lamar Jackson's starting, I'd go Andrews. Appreciate all of you guys supporting us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. How do I feel about the Eagles' defense this week? Don't like it. Fournette or Pollard? I'd go Pollard. How often do stat corrections actually matter? Hey, sometimes fantasy implications or fantasy wins are determined by that. Swift or Murray? I'd go Swift. We're close to it. 20,000 likes. We're almost there. Hit that like button. Let's get to it. Let's do this quick poll. Once we get to 20,000 likes, we're almost there. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. And 20,000 likes. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for the support you guys show us. You guys are just incredible. The audience that we have, the following, make sure you're following us. We have over 25,000 followers, and we are not stopping. We're growing every single day, every single week. Make sure you're part of this incredible Butt Fumble Sports community. Now that we've hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This one has to do, like I've been teasing, around two wide receivers and which one will get more fantasy points this week. So we'll do our quick poll now. Okay, here are our 2 wide receivers. Smiley face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Which wide receiver will get more fantasy points this week? Smiling face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Which wide receiver will get more fantasy points this week? That's our poll question for 20,000 likes. Smiling face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Which one will get more fantasy points this week? And let's go. Let's see what you guys think. Smiling face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Who gets more fantasy points this week? Doing a quick poll after we hit 20,000 likes. Which wide receiver do you think gets more fantasy points this week? Christian Watson or Juju Smith-Schuster? Smiley face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Which wide receiver will get more fantasy points this week? Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you follow us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Which wide receiver will have more fantasy points this week? Smiling face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Doing a quick poll because we hit 20,000 likes. What do you guys think for this week? Coming down to the wire, smiley face Christian Watson, crying face Juju Smith-Schuster. Which wide receiver gets more fantasy points? You guys think it's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. Wow, I'm going in the other direction. I think it's Christian Watson. Watson is projected to get more fantasy points. He's projected to get 9.3. Juju's projected to get just 9. That said, it's the matchup for me that I prefer. Watson's going up against the Dolphins, ranked 15th in fantasy versus wide receivers, while Juju Smith-Schuster faces a Seahawks defense that, believe it or not, as bad as they are against the run, they're ranked 4th in fantasy against wide receivers. So I prefer Watson over Juju this week. Had a lot of fun with that poll question. Make sure you hit that like button. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do another poll question. I have a lot of fun doing those. So hit that like button as many times as you can. We'll do another quick poll question once we hit 25,000 likes. And just to tease that poll question, that one will be about 2 superstar running backs and which one will have more fantasy points. You do not want to miss that poll question. So make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Let's get to 25,000 likes. Once we do that, or once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a poll question between 2 big star running backs, RB1s. Which one will have more fantasy points this week? Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. I assure you, you don't want to miss that one. Okay, getting back to your fantasy questions. Jared asks, A.J. Dillon or Monty? I would go with Montgomery. Sam asks, Waddle or Devontae Smith? I'd lean slightly towards Waddle. Rams, Bengals, Titans defense over the Eagles. I lean just slightly towards the Rams defense with Titans being second. Drew asks, Judy, Amari Cooper or Swift? I'll lean just slightly towards DeAndre Swift. Mostert or Bam Knight? Nick, that's a no-brainer for me. It's Raheem Mostert this week. He's got a good matchup. Appreciate all your guys' support. Make sure you're following us and hit that like button. Let's not stop on the likes. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a poll question around 2 star running backs that are playing this week and which one will have more fantasy points. With Jonathan Taylor on the IR, is Murray a good substitute? Yeah, he's a fine substitute. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, or Cam Akers? I prefer Raheem Mostert this week. Tight end this week, Taysom Hill, Dulcich, or Waller? I'm going Waller. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that like button. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around 2 star running backs. You don't want to miss that one. Zach Moss or Deion Jackson? I lean just slightly towards Zach Moss. Jerick McKinnon or Kamara? I'll go with McKinnon. Thoughts on Amari Cooper this week? Well, Sam, Amari Cooper is going to be playing in some brutal weather in Cleveland, so I really don't like him this week. Just don't like the passing game for the Browns. I think it's going to be tough weather. Bud Woods 10, who's been really supportive of us during the show, giving us gifts and making it really easy. If you give a gift, it makes it easy to see your name in the chat because there's a little icon that goes next to it. I never miss a question of someone who contributes and supports. So Bud Woods 10, Swift, ETN, or Mike Williams, pick 2. Ooh, tough one. I'll lean just slightly towards Swift and Mike Williams. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and hit that like button. We're going to be going for about 10-15 minutes more, but I really want to do this poll question at 25,000 likes around 2 superstar running backs and which one will have more fantasy points. So hit that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 25,000 likes in like a minute or two. Come on, hit that like button. Okay, pick one, McKinnon or Walker III. I'd go McKinnon. Pacheco or Bam Knight. I'd go Pacheco. Don't like A.J. Dillon this week. Zay Jones, Slayton, Patterson, or Lazard. I actually like Slayton. A.J. Dillon or Montgomery. I'd go Montgomery. Dulcich or Goddard. I'd go Goddard. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll question, a big one. 2-star running backs. Which one will have more fantasy points? You don't want to miss this poll question. DeAndre Hopkins or ETN. I lean slightly towards Hopkins. Tua or Fields. You got to go Tua. Evans or Watson. I'll lean slightly towards Mike Evans. Stevenson or McKinnon. Cam. I'd go McKinnon. Pacheco or Murray. I'd go Pacheco. Moore, Slayton, or Myers. I'm going Slayton. Garrett Wilson or A.J. Brown with Hurts out. I'll lean slightly towards Garrett Wilson. Appreciate all of you joining us and the support you guys show us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And of course, hit that like button. Let's get up to 25,000 likes so we can do this big poll question about 2-star running backs and which one will have more fantasy points. Goff or Minshew. I'd go Minshew. DK or Waddle. That's a tough one for me. I went DK last week over Waddle, and it burned me in my fantasy league. I'm going to lean slightly towards DK. He has the better matchup. It might burn me again, but I lean towards DK. McKinnon or Pacheco in a non-PPR. Well, the non-PPR, I think, is why I'd lean towards Pacheco just slightly. If it was PPR, it'd be a no-brainer McKinnon for me. I do like Zach Moss this week, Bob. Do like him. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you hit that like button at Fumble Sports. And if you want to make sure that I answer your question, just give us a small gift. Doesn't need to be a lot, just like Bud Woods 10 did. That way I can see your question every time. Bud Woods 10 asks, Chiefs defense or Raiders defense? Don't think either one's a really star play this week, but I'll lean just slightly towards the Raiders. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get up to 25,000 likes and do this quick poll around 2-star running backs and which one will have the better fantasy week, which one will have more fantasy points. You do not want to miss this question, so hit that like button. Let's get up to 25,000 likes. Hopkins or McKinnon. MVP Metcalf, I would go with McKinnon. Garrett 1428 asks Amari, Judy, or Devontae Smith. Well, with Amari Cooper being in that terrible weather of Cleveland, I would go with Devontae Smith. Joe asks Garrett Wilson or Mixon. I would go with Garrett Wilson. Guys, you're doing a great job hitting that like button. Make sure you drive us up to 25,000 likes. We'll do a quick poll once we hit 25,000 likes. That'll get us up there, and we will do a quick poll about 2-star running backs and which one will have the better fantasy week. I assure you, you do not want to miss that question. Deshaun Watson, Carr, Russell, Purdy. I would go with Derrick Carr. Here's a question we're getting from YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube page as well, at Fumble Sports. That way you don't miss one of our videos or our rants or anytime we go live. The question from YouTube, Tua, Fields, or Geno? I lean just slightly towards Tua, with Geno being second. Another question, Dobbins, Moss, or Pacheco? I would go with Pacheco at the flex. And then Mark Andrews or okay. I would go with Mark Andrews as long as Lamar Jackson starts. And finally, the Titans defense, San Francisco defense, or the Browns defense. Given what the weather will be like in Cleveland, I'd actually go with the Browns defense. I think they're the best play. Have I mentioned how much I love the Fumble Sports community? You guys are absolutely awesome. I'm so grateful for all the support you guys show us. You guys are just amazing. You're loyal, you're dedicated, and you are here for us. We're here for you. Thank you so much for all that you guys do to make sure that we stay on the air. We're a new sports content company and we're serving you. Thank you so much for being so loyal and supporting us. We've hit 25,000 likes because you guys are the absolute best. So thank you so much. Let's do this quick poll question that I'm so excited about. Okay, here's this quick poll. Before I ask, just make sure you hit that share button. Make sure you give the gift of good fantasy and football conversation to friends and family. Be a mensch, hit that share button. Okay, here's our quick poll question. Running back, which running back will have more fantasy points this week? Okay, smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. Which star running back will have more fantasy points this week? Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. This is a big one. Both of these guys could have massive weeks, but which one will have the better week? Which one will have more fantasy points? Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. And let's see what you guys think with this quick poll, and go. Okay, here's our quick poll question. Which running back will have more fantasy points this week? Christian McCaffrey, smiling face, Derrick Henry, crying face. Let us know what you guys think. Which running back will have more fantasy points this week? Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. Doing a quick poll because we got up to 25,000 likes. Let us know which running back will have the better fantasy week. Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Which running back do you think will have the better week in week 16? Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. Which running back will put up more fantasy points? Coming down to the wire, make sure you get the vote in. Smiling face, Christian McCaffrey, crying face, Derrick Henry. Which running back will have more fantasy points this week? You guys say Derrick Henry. I agree with you. Derrick Henry is going up against the Houston Texans defense. Texans are the worst defense in the NFL against the run, but I have another stat for you. Derrick Henry has 4 straight games against the Texans with at least 200 plus rushing yards and at least 2 plus touchdowns. You heard that right. 4 straight games with 200 plus rushing yards and at least 2 touchdowns in 4 straight games. Expect Derrick Henry to have a massive game. He's a player prop bet that I really like this week. So look for Derrick Henry this week as someone to play in fantasy and, of course, to get on the player prop bet train. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We're going to go for a few more minutes. I expect it to end around this point, but we're going to go for a few more minutes because you guys have been so great, so loyal, still have enough people in the chat, so we're going to go a little while longer. If you guys want to do another poll, get us up to 30,000 likes. We'll do one more poll, so get us up to 30,000 likes. I promise you, you're going to want to get one more poll in before we finish up. So hit that like button as many times as you can. This poll question, I'll just tease, will be about 2-star quarterbacks. 2-star quarterbacks, and which one will have the better fantasy day. So let's get up to 30,000 likes. Once we do that, we'll do another quick poll. So hit that like button. We'll do another fantasy poll. Make sure you're also following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you show your support. Follow, subscribe. Of course, hit that like button. Once we hit 30,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This next one will be about 2-star quarterbacks. And I'll just say, I've seen their names quite a bit in this chat tonight, so you'll want to hear that quick poll. Okay, getting back to answering your fantasy questions while you hit that like button. A.J. Dillon, Rashad White, or Hollywood Brown. I'll go Rashad White. What will Fields do? I think he'll gash the Bills in the running game. Don't expect much in the passing game. Fournette, Pacheco, or Foreman, or White, I'd go Pacheco. Hit that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. We'll do a quick poll about 2-star quarterbacks and which one will have more fantasy points this week. Speaking of quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, or Tom Brady, I'd go Tom Brady. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. You guys are the absolute best. Can't say thank you enough. So humbled by the support you guys show us. Metcalf, Smith-Schuster, Watson, Zay Jones, pick 3. I'll go with Metcalf, Smith-Schuster, and Watson. I don't like Zay Jones this week. I don't really like Smith-Schuster this week, but I prefer Smith-Schuster over Zay Jones given the matchup against the Jets. Rachaad White or Kenneth Walker III. Michael, I'd go with Kenneth Walker III. You guys are amazing. The support you're showing us is incredible. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. That way we can do a quick poll around 2 star quarterbacks and which one will have more fantasy points in NFL Week 16. Dobbins or Pacheco? I lean slightly towards Pacheco. A little worried about Dobbins and if he's going to be banged up. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure you're hitting that like button so we can do another quick poll. Bob asked Joe Mixon, Christian Watson, or Mike Williams at a flex full PPR. I'll go Christian Watson. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Rachaad White or Latavius Murray. I'm going to lean slightly towards Rachaad White. Foreman or Patterson. I'll lean slightly towards Foreman. Lions, Eagles, or Bengals defense. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll lean slightly towards the Bengals defense. Walker or Kamara. I would normally say Kamara, but I'm worried about that weather and him being involved in the passing game. Think he could get some yards on the ground, but I like Walker. Cowboys, Chiefs, or Ravens defense. I'll go with the Ravens defense. Zach Wilson or Goff to replace Hurts. I'd go with Zach Wilson. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. I really want to do this quick poll around 2 star quarterbacks and which one will have more fantasy points this week. Hit that like button as many times as you can. And of course, make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Appreciate the support, Bob. Appreciate you giving the gift. When you give a gift, a little icon shows up next to your name. Makes it really easy for me to see your question in the chat and answer it right away. CRC as Zay Jones or Christian Watson. I'm stuck. I'd go Christian Watson. Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson. I'd go Lamar Jackson. Is Pickens a start this week if Johnson is out? Yes, I think Pickens is a play. Pick one, Zay Jones, Christian Watson, or Mike Evans. I'd go Christian Watson, Juan. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Selena Garcia, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate all those who are joining, not just on TikTok, but on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe at Fumble Sports on YouTube. That way you know every time we go live and you never miss an opportunity to ask questions and, of course, get this entertainment as we answer football questions from fans all over the country. Murray or Jones, I'm going to lean slightly towards Jones. A.J. Brown or Godwin, I'm going to lean slightly towards Godwin. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and hit that like button. Once we hit 30,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll, and it's about 2 star quarterbacks. Which one will have more fantasy points this week? 2 names who have come up a lot in tonight's chat. I promise you, you don't want to miss that one. Make sure you hit that like button so we can do that quick poll. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Herbert or Tua? I would go with Tua, MJ. Lazard, Dotson, or Richie James. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Dotson, though I think all 3 could have similar games. Tennessee defense or Dolphins defense? Jesse, I would go with the Tennessee Titans defense. Tua or Lamar Jackson if healthy? Cam, I would go with Tua. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button. Once we hit 30,000 likes, we're going to do a quick poll about 2 quarterbacks, star quarterbacks. Which one will have more fantasy points? I assure you, you don't want to miss that one. Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Bam Knight, Algier, pick 2. If I have to, I would go Zach Moss, and I'll lean just slightly towards Algier, even though I don't like it. Cousins or Watson? Scott, you got to go Cousins. That's Scott Baker in 1962. You got to go with Kirk Cousins. Should I start Herbert or Tua? That's Tua for me, MJ. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that like button. Once we hit 30,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. Zeke Elliott or Bam Knight? Tanner, you got to go Bam Knight. Lenny, White, or Dobbins? I'd go Dobbins. Rodgers, Brady, or Wilson? I lean just slightly towards Brady. Lenny, White, or Dobbins? Dobbins. Adams, Hopkins, or Godwin? I would go Devontae Adams. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. Once we do, we'll do a quick poll around 2 quarterbacks, star quarterbacks, and after that, we'll end our show. So hit that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. Do a quick poll. Goddard or Schultz? Let's go Goddard. Andrews or Ingram, I'd go Andrews. Minshew or Purdy, I'd go Minshew. Singletary or KJ, I'd go Singletary. Amon Neal, who's been a supporter of the show, thank you for the gift. Every time you guys give a gift, a little icon shows up next to your name, makes it really easy to answer your question. They asked Joe Burrow or Justin Fields. I'd go Joe Burrow. Pittman, Juju, or Kirk. Christian Kirk, pick 2. Wow, hate this question. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Hate all 3 of them. Don't like any of them. They're all sits for me. But if I had to, I'd go Juju and I guess Christian Kirk. But I hate them. I hate all of them. Hate everything about them. Okay, guys, we're 2,000 likes away from 30,000 likes. Let's get there so we can do our quick poll question about 2 star quarterbacks and which one will have more fantasy points this week. You don't want to miss that one. 2 star quarterbacks. I assure you it'll be a lot of fun. Hit that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes. So are we starting Miles Sanders? I'm not crazy about him this week. Pacheco or A.J. Dillon? Marco, I'd go Pacheco. Zay Jones or Bam Knight? I don't like either one, but I'd lean towards Zay Jones, Sean. Herbert or Lawrence? I'd go Herbert, Hockey Dad. CW Hockey Dad. Baseball 3122, appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. We do our research every week to make sure we hand out winners in gambling and a lot of fantasy wins, hopefully for those in the playoffs. Jacobs or Derrick Henry? That's a no-brainer for me. That's Derrick Henry. He should have a massive day. 4 straight games against the Texans. He has 200-plus rushing yards and at least 2 rushing touchdowns. You have to start Derrick Henry this week. In DFS, too, he's a must-start for me. Jamal Williams or Fournette? I'd go Jamal Williams. Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence? I really don't like Deshaun Watson's matchup in the rain and snow and wind and fog. So for that reason, I would go with Lawrence just barely. Guys, let's get up to 30,000 likes. Once we do, we'll do a quick poll around 2 star quarterbacks. Which one will have more fantasy points this week? Don't miss it. Think McKinnon blows up again? Yep, think he has a really good week. Dobbins, Zeke, or Pacheco? I'd go Pacheco. Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Judy, or Christian Watson? Pick 3. I would sit Jerry Judy, so it would be Walker, Mixon, and Watson for me. Moss or Jackson? I'd go Moss. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get up to 30,000 likes and let's do this quick poll. Hit that like button as many times as you can. Of course, this is also the giving season. Make sure you support your friends and family by giving them the gift of fantasy football advice and, of course, great sports conversation. Hit that share button. Share Fumble Sports with your friends, family, coworkers. We love talking sports. We're trying to grow as a company, grow our audience. Share. We're appreciative of all the support you guys show us. So hit that share button. Share with your friends. Share with family. Share with coworkers. Anyone who loves talking sports, Fumble Sports is here for you. Appreciate all the likes you guys are giving us. Once we hit 30,000 likes, we'll do that quick poll question. Getting a question in from YouTube. Garrett Wilson, KJ Osborne, or DJ Moore as wide receiver 2. That's a no-brainer for me. I'd go Garrett Wilson. Here's another question. Tua or Cousins? I prefer Tua just slightly over Cousins, even though Cousins is a 1 p.m. at home. Another question. Foreman or Kenneth Walker III? I'd go Kenneth Walker III. We're almost up to 30,000 likes. Let's get over the top so we can do that quick poll question. We're almost there. Almost there. 30,000 likes. Here we come. And there we are. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support you guys show us. The Fumble Sports community is just incredible. I want to say a personal thank you to everyone who's joined us, everyone who's joining us, everyone who follows us. I am so grateful. You are what make us a sports media network. Without an audience, we would be just a guy talking sports. Thank you so much for the support you show us every single day, every single week. We are so grateful to have you in our community. Okay, now let's answer this poll question. The quick poll question that we have, which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Dak Prescott, smiling face, crying face Tom Brady. Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady. which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Our quick poll, smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady, which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? And go. Doing our quick poll, which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady, which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Make sure you follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Doing a quick poll, make sure you answer which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady. Which star quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Make sure you answer our poll question. Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady. Which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? Make sure you answer our poll question. Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady. Which quarterback will have more fantasy points this week? This one coming down to the wire, 10 seconds left. Smiling face Dak Prescott, crying face Tom Brady. Which quarterback will have more fantasy points? Coming down to the wire, and you guys think it's going to be Dak Prescott. I'm going in another direction. I'm going Tom Brady. Tom Brady projected to get 18.8 fantasy points. He's playing a Cardinals defense that's ranked 26th in fantasy against quarterbacks. A good matchup for him. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott projected to get 17 fantasy points. Meanwhile, he's facing an Eagles defense that's ranked 3rd in fantasy versus quarterbacks. So I definitely prefer Tom Brady. Appreciate all you guys joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The Ryan, if you want me to answer your question right away, just give a small gift. It literally can be a penny, half a penny. It doesn't need to be a lot, but that way I can see your little icon shows up and I can answer your question right away. Just like Neil said, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, or Alan Lazard, I'm going to lean just slightly towards Mike Williams. I'm going to do some rapid fire Q&A right now on your questions. Hopkins or A.J. Brown? I'll go A.J. Brown. Tua or Dak? I'll go Tua. Hopkins or Wilson? I'll go Wilson. Brady or Fields? I'll go Tom Brady. Kirk Cousins, Geno or Lamar? I'll go Kirk Cousins. Etienne or Pacheco? I'm going Pacheco. Brock Purdy or Aaron Rodgers? I'd go Aaron Rodgers. Appreciate all you guys supporting us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, doing a rapid fire answering your fantasy questions in the chat. Christian Watson or Gabe Davis? I'll lean just slightly towards Christian Watson. Minshew or Daniel Jones? I'll go with Daniel Jones. He's got the more favorable matchup. Kirk Cousins or Lamar Jackson? I'll go Kirk Cousins, Zane. Miles Sanders or Latavius Murray? I'll go Latavius Murray, believe it or not. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Stevenson or McKinnon? JD Moon? I would go with McKinnon. Zach Wilson, Rodgers, Minshew, or Goff? I'd go Aaron Rodgers. Joe Mixon, Stevenson, or Etienne? Pick two. I would go Stevenson, and I'd lean slightly towards Joe Mixon. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Zay Jones or Amari Cooper? Man, don't like either one, but I prefer Zay Jones. Garrett Wilson or Zay Jones? I prefer Garrett Wilson. A.J. Dillon or Derrick Henry? That's a no-brainer for me. Derrick Henry is a must-start this week. Derrick Henry is a must-start. Should have a monster matchup against the Houston Texans defense. Stevenson or McKinnon? I'd go McKinnon. Higgins or Wilson? I'll lean just slightly towards Garrett Wilson. Ingram or Darren Waller? I'd go Darren Waller. Throw your question in the chat. I'm going to answer it. Freiermuth or OK? Neil, I'd go with Freiermuth. Jags fan, wishing you luck tomorrow night. That said, I like the Jets on the money line. I do like the over in that game just slightly. Pick two, Sanders, Elliott, or Stevenson. I'll go Elliott and Stevenson. Pacheco or Bam Knight? That's a no-brainer, JP. I'd go Pacheco. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Sanders or Mixon? I'd go Mixon. Connor or Zeke? I'll lean slightly towards Zeke. McKinnon or Pacheco? I'll go McKinnon over Pacheco. Thielen or Patterson? I'll go Adam Thielen, John. Pacheco or Bam Knight? You got to go Pacheco, JP. Herbert or Lawrence at QB. Faded, I would go with Justin Herbert. Start Geno or pick Purdy or Minshew up. I would go with Geno Smith. Brady or Minshew, I would go with Brady, Katie. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Make sure you're hitting that like button, and of course, subscribe as well on TikTok and on YouTube. Freiermuth or Ingram, I'd go Freiermuth, Garrett. ETN, Dobbins, or Zeke, I'll lean slightly towards Dobbins as long as he's healthy. Ingram or Andrews, I'll lean slightly towards Andrews as long as Lamar Jackson's QB. Moss or Jackson, I'm going Moss, Ashton. DPJ or Foreman, DPJ is going to be playing in terrible weather. You got to sit him this week, unfortunately. I go with Foreman. Tua or Watson, well, you have that weather in Cleveland again, so Tua's the play. Everett or Kittle, I would go with Everett. McKinnon or Knight, no brainer, Ethan. You got to go McKinnon. Amari Cooper or Pittman. Michael, because of that weather, I'm fading every receiver in that game between the Saints and Browns, so I would go with Pittman over Cooper. Robinson or White, I would go with White. Bad matchup between Brian Robinson and the 49ers defense. Zay Jones or Tyler Boyd, I'd go Tyler Boyd. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Just Too Much Fun gave us a gift earlier, which makes it easier to see their question in the chat. I go right to the questions that have that icon, those who show us that kind of support. Does Hurts play quarterback? I would sit him this week. I think it's a no-brainer. Start Minshew. There's nothing on the line for the Eagles that's worth it. Make sure he's healthy. Uncle asks, Slayton or Evans? I'm going to lean just slightly towards Evans. I know Slayton's got a good matchup, but I prefer Evans. Evan Ingram, Waller, or Kmet? You got to go with Waller. Hollywood Brown, Rashad White, or Gabe Davis? I really want to say Gabe Davis. Denver defense, Tennessee defense, or Dallas defense? I'd go with the Denver defense. Walker or McKinnon? I'd go McKinnon. Lamb, A.J. Brown, Lockett, Olave, DK, or St. Brown? Pick 3. Okay. The 3 I would pick are St. Brown, DK Metcalf, and CeeDee Lamb. Doritos 99 asked to pick 3. ETN, Swift, Chubb, and Mostert. I'm a little worried about Chubb. He's a little banged up, but if he's healthy, I would play him. And the other 2 would be Mostert and Swift. Freiermuth or Knox? I lean slightly towards Freiermuth. Steelers or Raiders? I like the Raiders to cover that game. I'd buy the 1.5 and get Raiders +4. Dalton Schultz or Njoku? Don't like any pass catchers in that Cleveland Browns New Orleans Saints game with weather in Cleveland, so I'd go Dalton Schultz. Herbert or Dak? I'm going Justin Herbert. Both have bad matchups, but I prefer Herbert. McKinnon or Knight? I'd go McKinnon. Make sure you ask your question in the chat. Give us a little gift. It shows up as a little icon like the Raspy one did, and that way every time the Raspy one comes on and asks their question, I see it right away and allows me to answer it right away. Thank you, Raspy one, for the support. You asked pick 2, ETN, Walker, Foreman, Knight, or Patterson. I would go with ETN and Walker out of that group. Waddle or Judy? I would go with Waddle. Christian Kirk or Judy? Really don't like either one. Think I'd actually lean just slightly towards Christian Kirk, but I really don't like either one. Cousins or Jackson? Okay, I would go with Cousins. Kirk Cousins over Lamar Jackson. Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown? I'm going to lean just slightly towards Jamar Chase. I know it's the Patriots, and they usually take away the number 1 weapon of an opposing team, but I like Jamar Chase in that one. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and that way you'll know every time we go live. I'm going to close up now. We've almost done 2 straight hours of fantasy football talk. I appreciate so much the support you guys show us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. That way you'll never miss a time where we go live. We're going to go live every night this week, so make sure you're following us and make sure you're a subscriber. That way you'll know every time we go live on TikTok and on YouTube, so you can ask your questions, hear other people's questions, and help figure out your lineup, as well as get game picks, total plays, and player prop bets. You don't want to miss any of our analysis for NFL Week 16, helping fantasy owners win in the playoffs and helping bettors cash their tickets. Appreciate all the support. I cannot say it enough. We are so humbled by all the support you guys show us. You are an absolutely incredible following. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. And of course, I just want to give a shout out to Bleece. He does an amazing job from a production standpoint, as we do on YouTube. Schultz and Waller, I'll do one more. I'll do Waller. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys want to ask me questions, by the way, when we're not live, just DM us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We will answer all of your questions. I assure you, we don't dodge anybody. We answer all of your questions. So either join us when we go live tomorrow night or hit us up on a DM at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, thank you so much for the support. Make sure you're following us and have a great night. Can't wait to see you tomorrow on TikTok Live and on YouTube.